G'day, A.T. Mahara here. Sorry the light isn't great. I've been making some changes, not a lot, but stuff around. And we have a different drape up here. And so, still working on it. Got some cardboard back here. That was when my dog, who's 2 years old now, was a puppy and chewing everything. And so anyhow, I guess it's hiding my face. Well, somebody left a comment the other day on one of my videos and said, we get the face we deserve. So maybe it's best if I hide my face. If you're not subscribed to this channel and you find the information helpful, please do subscribe and hit the notification bell, hit all, so you can get more of the uploads that I do like once in a while. Sometimes there's a lot in a row, sometimes a lot of time goes by. I'm really busy with clients and really busy with life and stuff like that. Oh, and by the way, I can start this video without going, I got a Toronto Maple Leaf shirt on just because it's what I grabbed, but they're still sucking. But hey, let's go Blue Jays World Series. They're going to be the champs this year. I just know it. Amazing American League Championship Series and Division Series. And woo, in Toronto, when we get something to cheer for, we're serious about it. And anyway, so this video is going to be a response and my answer to a commenter that left a comment on the video I did or the podcast or whatever it was, right? Borderline mixed signals and codependent fantasy bonds. And can I just say quickly, this eye is not too bad, but it's a little blurry. This eye is like gonzo. I can see colors and stuff, and it's all blurry. But so I hope I'm going to be able to read this semi-okay and not trip over it, because I'm scheduled for cataract surgery next, early next year. Anyway. Getting all this fun. It is fun no matter what, and it's a privilege. Okay, so the video again was borderline mixed signals and codependent fantasy bonds. The commenter says, have you heard about the S.E.T, they said setup method, but basically it's called S.E.T method, used to calm the conversation to reach the BPD person when the storm is fully enraged. Wow, I don't think you can reach a person with BPD when the storm is fully enraged. This is my 2 cents worth, with over 35 years worth of work with clients and still going strong and really busy and doing all this content, 30 and a half years online, actually getting close to 31 years online. Anyway, and the person continues, and even when the BPD person gets overwhelming in rage, and drops to the dark side. Well, first of all, I don't know what you mean by that, because people, when they're raging, they're already really overwhelmed with BPD. So they're overwhelmed when they're raging, and they don't drop to the, quote, dark side at all. These are the kind of stigmatizing, stereotyping, erroneous statements that people make about people with BPD, like in a plethora of areas and ways. They don't drop to the dark side. They're suffering. People with BPD are in agony. Does it justify their behavior and their abuse of people? No. But let's call it what it is. They don't drop to the dark side. They hurt. And they're going through a lot. And they will put other people through a lot. But not all people with BPD are the same. Anyway, the commenter continues, is it useful or isn't it? This isn't my eyes. This is what they typed. Opposite of no contact. Is it useful, and is it opposite of no contact? Well, it's definitely contact, isn't it? And they said, would like to know your opinion. Thank you. Well, I'm going to give you my opinion right now. Oh, and let me just say, for those that have to cut out every 10 seconds and don't have, no offense, don't have any kind of like focus or think I go on too long. Let me just say right now, no, I would not advise anybody use the S.E.T method with somebody with borderline personality disorder when they're in the storm of emotional dysregulation, whether that's withdrawal, silent treatment for a quiet borderline, whether that's raging for a petulant borderline, or any other manifestation of behavior that isn't appropriate, and that why would you want to engage it? So I say no. S.E.T is not worth using, and it is contact, by the way, but it's not worth it for you to try to use the S.E.T method unless the person with BPD in your life is in, I mean, super major therapy. And it's made like super major changes. I'm not talking about what a lot of people say on the channel and comments, or what some of my clients have said over years. Well, she just started DBT 2 weeks ago, so now we're going to be good. No, nothing like that. The S.E.T method with a person with BPD will not work when they're fully dysregulated. And it will only set them off more. Like I said, because if they're more treated, and if they're getting better, which is like takes years and can't happen in DBT therapy alone, if they're getting better, then they're not going to be in those full-blown rages and those big emotional, dysregulated type situations that you have absolutely no responsibility to try to help them with, to try to rescue them from, to try to change it so you can feel comfortable, to try to control it. You have absolutely no business being involved with that whatsoever. In fact, I always recommend to people, if the person with BPD is raging, if the person with BPD is, I don't know, you're chasing them around the house because they won't talk to you and they're withdrawing the silent treatment and all that, then you need to disengage and you need to take care of yourself. And if they're raging and screaming at you, no, you don't go in there and try to use the S.E.T method, and it's not going to have any efficacy anyway. And what are you doing but the most codependent thing you could possibly be doing? And why do I say that? Because you see a lot of these things in psychology places, you know, websites, and where they put out this stuff, like the S.E.T method, they don't say what they should say with that, which is, if your person or the person in your life or family member or whoever it is really had an amazing amount of therapy, which means they wouldn't be in a rage in the first place, okay? Then you might use the S.E.T method, but not when somebody is not well enough treated, or perhaps is totally untreated with BPD. Now, what is the S.E.T method? So I'm reading this and paraphrasing, and I might be quoting from, I think it's called People Psych. Print is just too small for me in this world now, ladies and gentlemen. I'm telling you, it needs to blow the heck up. What happened to it? Obviously, it's the same, but So what is S.E.T? It's support, empathy, and truth. S.E.T is communication, a communication tip for borderline personality disorder. Not when they're not well enough treated, not when they're not super getting better, not when they can't take personal responsibility, and by the way, not when they're raging, not when they're emotionally dysregulated and they can't soothe or take care of that themselves. Not your job, not your role. This is going to backfire on you. It's going to make them angrier, because this method, I believe, is for people that are really getting better with BPD. Some people with BPD are in those places where A, they wouldn't be raging like that in the first place. B, they would be more aware and able to stop that or change that or not even go there. So, S.E.T is for people who are trying to live with or know or relate to somebody with BPD, but like, I don't agree at all that if they're so ragey and all that stuff that you should be doing that whatsoever. No, it's just, my opinion is no. So, communication for couples, marriage, yeah, sure, okay. You want to do all the work. You want to be that really good codependent. You want to try to change what they're doing. You want to try to give them the support and the empathy and the truth while they're fully engaged in a trigger, in emotional dysregulation and rage. That's like, I went to the zoo. I'm going to go to the zoo next Tuesday. And I know it says don't feed the animals and don't go behind the... But I'm going to climb over the fence because I believe in the S.E.T method for borderline personality. That must mean that I can make friends with that tiger over there too on the other side of the... he won't hurt me. I'll use some techniques and, next thing you know, you go do that, tiger eats you. What do you think that most people, untreated and not well enough treated with borderline personality disorder, going to do to you? Well, they're raging and you're trying to give them support, empathy, and truth. They don't want to hear the truth. They can't handle the truth. They might want support, but they'll not when they're angry and they're raging and you're being devalued. No, then it's called they're pushing you away and you're being devalued. Empathy? You want to give empathy to somebody who's abusing you and screaming at you. It doesn't make any sense to me. So they say, why does this set work? Why does set work? Well, they call it communicating through emotions. When's the last time you were in front of a raging borderline and you feel like there's any way you can communicate? You know, did you watch my podcast on this channel or listen to it on my podcast? Or did you watch it? Did you listen to borderline-induced conversations? Have you seen my video about jade conversations? Excuse me. Circular, maybe everything in me is just getting too old. No, circular logic, and you justify, argue, defend, and explain, and they rage, and they accuse, and they're projecting all over you. No, I wouldn't recommend using SET at all. So the idea behind it is when borderline personality disorder makes communication difficult, following the SET method may help. Stress may, because most of the time, not going to help. And if they're untreated and they're not super well treated and they're not taking responsibility, like I said, if they're still raging, they're still emotionally dysregulated, if they're still screaming at you, giving you the silent treatment, blaming you, projecting all over you, I like that it says it may work. No, it won't work. Okay? And following the SET method may help. This is really misinformation. SET stands for Support, Empathy, and Truth. And it was developed by, Gerald J. Kreisman, MD, I think was one of the authors of I Hate You, Don't Leave Me. So, learned individual, and Hal Strauss. I don't know why they're saying, yeah. Oh, and Hal Strauss is they're both the authors of I Hate You, Don't Leave Me, and Sometimes I Act Crazy. Well, you know, when these people quote act crazy, that's not the time to approach them. It's not the time to try to proffer your support, your empathy, and your truth. They don't even hear you when they're in a good mood about your truth. I don't understand this. The symptoms of borderline personality disorder can result in a person with BPD asking for conflicting things or being unable to recognize that another person cares for them, especially during times of stress and being triggered. Yeah. They have conflicting feelings at the same time, people with BPD, and tend to see things in black and white ways, very little shades of gray. There's no shades of gray in an untreated borderline, okay? As a result, people with BPD experience current feelings as persistent state of being. More to the point, what this website is blathering on about, I don't know what the word, blathering on about, what this website is talking about. It's like, no, they don't just have, people with BPD are not just experiencing current feelings as a persistent state of being. They are in somewhat minimal to more dissociative states that are triggered with emotional dysregulation that take them back. So their past is totally all over them and inside, and they're experiencing it and feeling it again, but they don't consciously know that. So it's not even about feelings in the here and now, and it's not even about you, because they're going to relate to you as object other representation, bad wounding parent in dysregulated emotions and devaluation. You want to walk in there to support, you want to give them empathy, and you want to tell them the truth. Right. They'll just blast you harder and doubly and whatnot. This, according to this website, they say, quote, SET allows you to honestly, wow, this is little print and I'm seeing it. SET allows you to honestly address the borderline person's demands, assertions, or feelings while still maintaining appropriate boundaries. No. It is important to do these steps in order as each step builds upon the other, not in front of an untreated or not well enough treated, raging flippin' person with borderline personality disorder. It's like I said, you've now climbed the fence at the zoo and you're face to face with a lion or a tiger, and you think that if you just do a few certain things, no sudden movements, you'll be okay. Next thing you know, you've been dinner. So, yeah, the support part, you're supposed to give some initial magical statement the person BPD who's raging is going to hear. This is not even practical. And the support statement is meant to reassure the person with BPD. Have you ever tried to reassure a person with BPD who's already in full-blown rage? or the emotional storms of whatever, and maybe they're not raging, but like they're not going to hear you. And the empathy part, well, you want to give empathy to a person with BPD who's all like angry and devaluing you and all of it and abusing you, potentially, at least verbally, and they are like yelling and screaming at you. And you're going to come in there and say, what? With empathy. Because you know what that is? It's classic codependent self-abandonment. I wouldn't recommend doing it. It's not your responsibility to do any of this for somebody with BPD. And here they say, quote, it is important not to tell the person with BPD, which they don't even use those words, how she, or he, I will add, is feeling. How trite is this stuff? But her demonstrated feelings, but put his or her demonstrated feelings into words. The goal is to convey a clear understanding of uncomfortable feelings that she or he is having. No, that's like this is advice on how can you try to play therapist when you're not a therapist. And even if you are a therapist with a borderline, you can't, give them therapy. It's like surgeons don't operate on their relatives or themselves, right? This is just, no, I wouldn't recommend it. And the truth. Oh yes, let's tell the raging borderline the truth. Because even when they're calm, they really hear you about your truth, right? Or the truth. No, they don't take personal responsibility. They're not that self-aware. Emotional dysregulation when they're triggered, when they're raging, when they're silent treatment, when they're withdrawing, pushing you away, devaluing you, etc., one way or another, or in some combination. The last thing on earth they could care less about or even understand is your truth. Or the truth about them. This really does make me angry because it's very bad. It's very bad. They recommend very bad information for people. And here they're going to define for us in case we're just like extra dumb. It says here, quote, truth refers to the realistic and honest assessment of the situation and the borderline's role in solving the problem. Well, people with BPD can solve their own problems, which they can if they get well enough treated, get better, go through healing and recovery. And then what would you need to be there for? Why would they be raging? Why would they be so emotionally triggered and all over the place dysregulated? I think we know what the truth is, don't we? And people with BPD are not really grasping the truth. And if they're all emotionally aroused and like, devaluing and all upset and overwhelmed, you're not going to hear anything you say. They're just going to fight you. Because you stand there or sit there trying to do this, please don't do it. But if somebody's doing it, you're doing it, well, they're seeing and experiencing you as object of their bad parent representation. You're never going to get heard. And what will you be doing to yourself, more to the point? And then it says here, like you're going to help the borderline solve the problem, eh? No, seriously, this is the fodder and fantasy of so many codependents, now written by these authors. Are they mental health professionals? I don't know, because this to me is a recipe for disaster. You may as well just go to the zoo and walk up to the tiger and try to shake hands and say, I support you. I have empathy for the fact that you're in a zoo and you're not out in the wild. And I'm going to tell you the truth. Before you even get to that line, you will have been dinner. Same thing with the borderline, just not so obviously like literally, right? So when you need, so this support, this truth statement is going to be, it's an objective statement that focuses on the quote, it unquote, not on the subjective experience of the person with BPD or non-BPD. What? Often the person, they don't even say, they just say BP here. So I'm saying person with BPD. And they seem to be asking or demanding something impossible, not taking an active role or responsibility in resolving the issue, or even presenting you with, they're presenting you with a no-win situation always in these situations. But still they go on to say, quote, this is what I can do, unquote. This is what will happen. Remember when this happened before and how you felt so bad about it later. a person who's already maybe somewhat dissociative, very triggered with BPD, emotion dysregulated, and raging, and you want to say that to them. No, just go to the zoo, visit the tiger, and see if you can come back. And no, don't do that. But, the metaphor of it all. And then they continue, it's important to use the support and empathy statements first so that the BP, as they say, is more likely to, quote, hear, unquote, what you are saying. Otherwise, the truth statement may be experienced as a little more than another and expected rejection, creating even more defensiveness or anger. That's what the support statement's going to do all day long, every day anyway. And then they go on to go, validation and support are not agreement. There's no reason for you to be there. Engaging or allowing somebody with BPD to rage at you, scream at you, yell at you, devalue you, call you names, etc. You're not going to be there for validation and support. Meanwhile, you're not agreeing with their behavior. What? Anyway, so that's my answer. And then what do they say here further down? Quote, finally, the supportive communication described in the S.E.T model does not mean that you are letting the BP off the hook. We have to put up with that for a minute, I'm sorry. Or that you're letting them control you. Instead, you are focusing on engaging in honest communication and doing your best to ensure that you are being heard, not just defensively reacting to what is being said. What I say to that all day long, I apologize for that, phone. What it's an alarm, actually. What I would say to you all day long about the S.E.T method is it encourages contact if you're going no contact, if you're broken up. And the other part of it is it doesn't work. It's the height of codependency and self-abandonment. And you're not going to reach the borderline. You can't reach them most of your relationship, on, off, whatever, even when they're not raging with the truth, with what you care about, with what's the truth for you. So being empathic to them, trying to support them, trying to give them true statements is just like climbing over that fence at the zoo with the lion and thinking you're coming back out because you're going to be dinner. And you're going to be metaphorical dinner for any borderline you try to use the S.E.T method with. Please don't do it.